Hey, horror fans, once again, it is me, the Horror Miser Mani G. First of all, I want to wish all you guys a safe and happy Halloween. And as we come to the closing of the 31 Days of Horror, it's time to review the latest movie based on H.G. Lovecraft, The Thing on the Doorstep. It is Suitable Flesh. Ooh.
Don't fuck with them hoes.
Now, Suitable Flesh is a 2023 American horror film. It was directed by Joe Lynch and then written by Belowy. I'll get that right. Based on The Thing on the Doorstep by H.P. Lovecraft. The film stars Heather Graham, Judea Lewis, Bruce Davidson, and Barbara Crampton. Yes. Now, in this film, a psychiatrist becomes obsessed with one of her young patients, who she later discovers is linked to an ancient curse. Ooh. So, horror fans, when it comes to horror films, one favorite source filmmakers like to use is the works from popular American horror writer Howard Phillips Lovecraft, better known as H.P. Lovecraft. Now, while he's written lots of books on science and fantasy, he is best known for his creation of the Cthulhu mythos. Most of all the horror films that we've seen from H.P. Lovecraft is based on those mythos. Because we've seen plenty of horror films. I know I've seen them based on that were influenced or based on the works of H.P. Lovecraft. Such film as Reanimator, From Beyond, Castle Freak, The Color of Space, and The Dunwich Horror. There are lots of horror films and TV shows that are based upon the works of H.P. Lovecraft, and most of them are pretty good. Now, most of the films based on H.P. Lovecraft can be campy like horror film, like slasher films can be campy, but most of these films from H.P. Lovecraft tend to be wild, sometimes psychedelic, and then sometimes include body horror. Yeah, because so I think when you're watching a film based on H.P. Lovecraft, it's not your typical standard horror film that we're mostly seeing. It's not a slasher film. It's not some of the other known subgenres in horror. It's something totally different that we've seen in comes to horror films. I think that's the reason why a lot of people love horror films based on H.P. Lovecraft's works. So, American film director Joe Lynch brings us his latest entry into the subgenre of horror based on H.P. Lovecraft's short story, The Thing on the Doorstep. This one is called Suitable Flesh. Now, this is not a good day for psychiatrist Elizabeth Derby, who is trying to convince her best friend and colleague, Dr. Daniela Upton, that she isn't a murderer. Because while she's placed in a psychiatric hospital for the murder of one of her patients, Dr. Derby tells Dr. Upton the events of the past week and what led her being accused of killing the patient. So, what we're seeing after the beginning of the film is a flashback of all the events leading up to where we're at in the start of the film. Now, it starts when a scared young man named Aisha arrives at her office, busting into the office while she's seeing a patient who's trying to convince her that his father is abusing him by occupying his body. What? Now, eventually, this will lead Elizabeth down a dark and wild path of out of body experiences, undesired sexual awakening and desires, and an ancient curse that can affect her life forever. Kind of what the whole movie is about. No, I'm not giving the plot away. I'm pretty sure people who have seen the trailer can get a sense that this is a body swapping horror film. So when I was watching this film, I kept getting vibes of the 1987 horror film The Hidden, of course, along with Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday, with all the body swapping that takes place in this particular film, or particularly the premise that they're using here. Now, this is an interesting premise to use for a horror film, and Lynch and the filmmakers use it here because we've seen this before, but they use it kind of in a different approach. Now, I never read the short story this movie is based on, but it seems like Dennis Paoli is focusing more on Elizabeth's character, who we believe is a happily married and successful woman, but her encounters with Asa say otherwise. Quite interesting. As with most movies based on H.P. Lovecraft, there's plenty of campiness that happens in the film, and some events take place that would never happen in real life or the reactions the characters have in this film. And just like any other films I've seen are based on H.P. Lovecraft, there's lots of stuff that there's no way it was to happen in real life, or it wouldn't happen in the hospital, or a psychiatrist would never do some of the things that Dr. Upton does in this particular film. But that's the whole part of it. It's just campiness. No, obviously, when it comes to body swapping horror films, one of the interesting aspects that I did like about the film is how the actors change their personalities when the swapping occurs. They act differently because they're not that particular person anymore. And this is where I have to get Heather Graham credit because she does a good job in her role, from a decent caring doctor next to a sex obsessed and aggressively violent woman. I think Heather does a fine job with that before. I really was never a fan of hers. I never seen the Austin Powers movies or any other movies that she's done before, but she's pretty good here. She and horror veteran Barbara Crampton, who helped produce the film, and she's basically has been in almost every horror film based on H.P. Lovecraft's, From Beyond, Reanimator, and some other films. The two have great chemistry together. You can tell that they're good friends, and she wants to believe and help Elizabeth. So they have great chemistry together. Matter of fact, they kind of carry the film. No, Judea Lewis from the Babysitter films, he's okay as Asa. A young man who is afraid of his father, but for some reason I can't take him seriously when his personality changes after swapping occurs. He's just not believable in his role. I'm assuming that they decided to cast him because, it's the typical young guy attracted to an older woman. That might play on some aspects, but I don't think it kind of plays well in here. I just didn't believe his character. No, while we do have some gore in the film, we have something happens in the first, I would say right around the first act of the film, but most of the gore takes place in the third act. But unfortunately, that's when the film starts to lose itself with all the craziness that happens. It's like the filmmaker and especially, I guess, Dennis Belloli, they really didn't know how to end the film. So we get a dragged out scene that lasts about 15 minutes too long when it should have only taken about 10 minutes. Now, I don't know if fans of H.P. Lovecraft will like this film because it does have its moments, and I guess if you want to see nude Heather Graham, that might be up your butt. I really didn't care that much, and but like I said, both Heather Graham and Barbara Crampton are good in their rope. So if you're a fan of Barbara Crampton, you might enjoy this film. However, for me, this is it's an okay film, but it plays more like a thriller that could have been aired on Lifetime if you cut out the horror aspect of that, because that's what this film reminds me of. So I'm going to give Suitable Flesh only 2 out of my 5 bloody gold coins. It's like I said before, it's okay. Heather Graham, she's fine. Barbara Crampton does her fine in a role right there. It's just really not what I expected. I kind of expect a little bit more because you do get the body swapping, but like I said, this plays more of a Lifetime film. That if you cut out the horror aspect of it, this plays more of a Lifetime horror film. So yeah, only 2 out of my 5 bloody gold coins. So there you have it, guys. That is my video and review of Suitable Flesh. So hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, like, and share because it really helps out with that YouTube algorithm. Have you seen Suitable Flesh? Leave your comments in the comment section below and tell you thought about the film. Also, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. That way, we notify anytime when I put a new video such as this one. Once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as the Horror Miser Money G. And always remember that horror rules. Ha 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 ha. I see you in my next video. Guys, stay safe out there. And once again, please have a safe and happy Halloween.